Greetings, friends, and welcome to day 22 of Arthurian April. And indeed, we are going to be seeing double today. Double and triple and quadruple, because we are talking about the Elaines, plural, of Arthurian literature. If perchance you happen to have read any Mallory or some of the folks that came after him, you may have come across more than one Elaine and asked yourself, am I hallucinating? The answer is no. The answer is that for reasons we cannot quite fathom, over the years we have multiple Elaines, made more even confusing by the fact that more than one of them, I think 3 of them, are closely associated with Lancelot. 2 of them are in love with him. 1 of them dies from being in love with him. It's arguable whether the other one also dies from being in love with him, but it happens a little later. By far, the most popular Elaine is Elaine of Astolat, or more commonly known as the Lady of Shalott. If you are a fan of Tennyson, you'll recognize that name and that poem that was pretty famously turned into a song by Lorena McKennitt in the 90s. In this particular tale, Elaine of Astolat is the daughter of a noble and happens to see Lancelot in the tournament and absolutely falls in love with him. And despite her attempts to sway him to her side, she is not able to do so because his love is forever pledged to Guinevere, and she essentially dies of her grief over not being loved by this peerless knight, and very, very famously is ushered out of this existence on a boat with her beautiful, fair corpse for all to see. This Waterhouse painting is probably the most popular of this depiction. She does technically die before she gets into the boat, but hey, the drama is all here. We're here for the drama. The look on her face. She's beautiful. She's alone. She's lost her mind. The Victorians absolutely ate this up, as demonstrated. But there is another Elaine. My favorite Elaine is actually Elaine of Corbenic, because she is absolutely bonkers and does stuff that typically in the stories you really only see ascribed to wily men or witches. On one hand, she seems to have easy access to at least part of the Holy Grail. On the other hand, she is an absolute trickster and horrible person. So like many women before her, she falls in love with Lancelot. But she's like, no, he's not going to sleep with me. He will only sleep with someone he believes is Guinevere because he's so in love with her. If you remember the whole Igraine, Gorlois, Uther triangle, you probably can guess where this is going. She finds a way to essentially ensorcel herself to appear like Guinevere, and Lancelot, not knowing any better, apparently sleeps with her. And she becomes pregnant. That child is Galahad. And in case you think that, the story is done there, no, Elaine does it again. She tricks Lancelot for the second time into believing that she is Guinevere. Can't fault the girl for trying. And then he completely loses his mind. So he pulls a full Yvain. He turns into a madman, running naked in the wood/garden. It's a whole thing. But then after a while, when she finds him, she just has this grail lying around and she uses it to cure him of his madness. And then, according to various versions of the story, they lived together for about 10 years and raised this son. In T.H. White's The Winsome Teacher King, it's like for about over 10 years. And ultimately, he has her take her own life at the end of that story, realizing that she can never supplant the love of Guinevere and that no matter what she does, he's always going to love her instead. So far, not a bunch of happy endings for these Elaines. Then next, we have Elaine of Benwick, or Benoit, depending on how it's pronounced in the French or the English version. And in most tellings, she is actually Lancelot's mother, married to Ban of Benwick, and that's a very different angle than the other Elaines. But if you think about it, maybe there was some mommy issues going around. I don't want to dig too deep into that. Occasionally, though, this character is also described as one of Arthur's sisters. That is who I use in the Queens of Fate series. I took from this particular Elaine as the sister of Morgause, Morgan, and Anna, and she does indeed at the end of the story become a nun, like in the legends. But she's Lancelot's stepmother, which is a whole thing. Now there is also the Elaine of Garlot, I believe is how you say it. That is a sister of Morgause, Morgan, and whoever happens to be in the Pendragon Gorloff family at the time, and is considered like part of that inner circle. This Elaine marries a king and has a daughter and names her daughter Elaine. And lastly, there is the character of Elaine the Peerless, who appears very, very briefly. She's in the Vulgate Lancelot in her first introduction, but other than being rescued now and again, we don't get the deep, interesting, tragic stories of all the other Elaines. So I mix around my Elaines considerably because I find the whole thing really, really funny. There are 3 main Elaines in my book. The first one being Elaine, the sister of Anna and Morgause and Morgan, the second being the daughter of Pellis, and the third being the actual Lady of Shalott, but not the mother of Galahad, because somebody else is Galahad's mom. But I wanted to just read you this little minute here because it's one of my favorite little darlings. Just as a background, Gawain is finally talking to his mother after surprising her that he is betrothed to this young, sort of frail girl named Elaine, and she's like not having any of it. I'm sorry, Mother, he said, kneeling by my bed. He looked pale, worried perhaps. I've just been under a torrent of pressure with your return and the tournament and Elaine. Elaine, I asked. That is her name, not Aunt Elaine, of course, but my betrothed. Would she could have had any other name? Would my life be ever plagued with Elaines? So I hope your life is not plagued with Elaines. I hope that if you are Elaine, like my dear cousin, that you are happy and joyous and do not do anything rash, because apparently Elaines have quite a devious streak. That concludes today's Arthurian April, and we'll be back tomorrow.